I watched from the mezzanine of the gallery, sipping sparkling water that tasted like iron. Below me, my mother-in-law, Lisa, was gesturing wildly at an abstract painting worth $5,400. Next to her stood Isabella, my husband's mistress, looking bored as she decided how to decorate the luxury apartment I secretly owned. They thought I was the silent partner, the invisible checkbook. I pressed the phone to my ear. "Yes," I said to my private banker, my voice steady. "Authorize a total security freeze. Effective immediately." I did not blink as I tapped confirm. The transaction wasn't just declined. It was terminated. Before we watch their entire fake lifestyle crumble, drop a comment below and let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to see how far this story reaches. To the outside world, I was Victoria, the introverted wife who preferred sketching in the corner while her charismatic husband worked the room. They saw me as the accessory, the quiet shadow behind Brandon's shining light. But shadows are where the real work happens. Shadows are where the blueprints are drawn. The reality was a structural load calculation they never bothered to check. I was not just the wife. I was the architect, the builder, and the bank. I owned a massive luxury development firm that reshaped the Miami skyline, but I let Brandon play the role of brand ambassador. I gave him the title because he needed the applause, and I needed the silence to work. I let him wear the bespoke suits and cut the ribbons while I sat in the server room of my own life, managing the infrastructure that kept them all standing. I looked at my phone, scrolling through the transfer history. It was a hemorrhage of capital. $18,000 a month deposited into Brandon's account as a stipend to soothe his ego. $12,000 annually for Lisa's country club membership so she could brag about her old money status to women who actually had it. The mortgage on the villa, the lease on the cars, the insurance premiums. I paid for the stage they performed on. For 5 years, I asked myself the same question every time I signed a check. Why? Why did a woman who could negotiate multi-million-dollar land deals stay with a man who could not even pay his own phone bill? Why did I endure Lisa's sneers about my lack of pedigree while I funded her entire existence? It was not because I was weak. It was the provider's curse. I was addicted to being the solution. I had convinced myself that if I was indispensable, I was safe. I treated love like a construction project if I just poured enough concrete. If I reinforced the steel, if I paid for every luxury, I could build a structure that would not collapse. I thought I was buying loyalty. I thought my competence was the only currency I had that was worth anything. I did not believe I could be loved just for being Victoria. I had to be Victoria the fixer. Victoria the bank. But looking at Isabella across the gallery, smugly pointing at a painting she expected me to buy, the equation finally balanced. I had not built a family. I had subsidized a colony of parasites. They did not love me. They loved the lifestyle I provided. They loved the shade my shadow offered. I closed my banking app. The realization wasn't painful anymore. It was just data. And the data showed a bad investment. I had spent 5 years trying to buy a home, but I had only purchased a hostage situation. It was time to stop the payments. It was time to condemn the building. The scene in the gallery shifted instantly. Lisa marched to the counter, tapping the platinum card against the glass with the confidence of someone who had never heard the word no. "Wrap it up," she commanded the sales associate, "and send it to the address on file. Isabella needs it by Friday." Isabella smirked, running a hand over the frame as if she already owned it. I watched from above as the associate swiped the card. There was a pause. Then the polite, confused frown. "I am sorry, ma'am," the associate said, voice hushed but audible in the quiet room. "This card has been declined." Lisa let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "Do not be ridiculous. Run it again." "It is a platinum card." She shoved it back across the counter. The associate obeyed. Swipe, pause, decline. "It is showing a security hold, ma'am. Reported as lost or stolen." The color drained from Lisa's face, replaced instantly by a flush of furious red. "Stolen?" That is my card. I am an authorized user. Call the bank immediately. She started digging through her purse for her phone, muttering about incompetence. Isabella stepped back, crossing her arms, her bored expression hardening into annoyance. Seriously, Lisa. You said this was taken care of. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from Brandon. Mom says the card isn't working. She's at the gallery with a friend. Fix it now. It's embarrassing. I looked at the message. A friend. He could not even type her name. He still thought I was the fixer. He thought I was the IT department for his life, just waiting on standby to reboot his reality. I typed my reply slowly, savoring every letter. It's not a glitch, Brandon. It's a foreclosure. I hit send and looked back down. Lisa was now screaming at the manager, waving the useless piece of plastic like a weapon. Security was moving in, polite but firm. It was the parasite's delusion in real time. She was not angry because she was embarrassed. She was angry because she truly believed that money was hers. In her mind, I was just the steward of her wealth, a vault she had the combination to. She could not comprehend that the vault had a lock she did not own. I did not wait for them to be escorted out. I turned and walked toward the exit, the heels of my boots clicking a sharp rhythm on the polished floor. I left them there, arguing with a security guard who did not care about their pedigree, surrounded by art they could not afford and a reality they were just beginning to understand. The decline wasn't just financial, it was existential. The housewarming party was already in full swing when I arrived. It was in the penthouse of a new high-rise overlooking Biscayne Bay, the crown jewel of a development my company had finished 3 months ago. Brandon had rented it for Isabella using the marketing budget, claiming it was a showroom for potential clients. From the hallway, I could hear the music and the laughter. I did not knock. I used my master key. The door swung open, and the noise inside faltered. Brandon was standing near the kitchen island, holding a glass of champagne, his arm around Isabella. She was wearing a white dress, looking every bit the lady of the manor. When they saw me, Brandon's face went from smug to furious in a heartbeat. Victoria? He snapped, marching over. What are you doing here? This is a private event. And where is my card? I've been trying to reach you all day. You're embarrassing me. I did not answer. Instead, I stepped aside to reveal the 2 men standing behind me. My lawyer, sharp and silent, and a uniformed sheriff's deputy. The room went dead silent. The guests, mostly Brandon's friends who enjoyed the open bar I paid for, set down their drinks. Mr. Brandon, the deputy said, stepping forward. We are here to serve an eviction notice for unauthorized occupancy. Eviction? Brandon laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. This is my apartment. I leased it. No, I said, speaking for the first time. You did not. This building belongs to V Group Holdings, my holding company. There is no lease on file for you or Isabella. You are squatters. Isabella gasped, looking around the room as if the walls might suddenly collapse. Brandon? You said you bought this place. I handle the marketing, Brandon stammered, looking at me with wild eyes. Victoria, stop this. You can't just kick me out. We're married. This is marital property. My lawyer stepped in, handing Brandon a document. Actually, sir, this property is owned by a commercial entity established prior to your marriage. Your presence here is a liability violation. You have 30 minutes to vacate the premises before criminal trespassing charges are filed. 30 minutes? Brandon shouted. My stuff is here. My guests are here. Then I suggest you ask your guests to help you pack, I said coolly. Because the locks are being changed in 29 minutes. I walked over to the kitchen island, picked up a bottle of expensive wine, and checked the label. It was from my private cellar. I set it back down. And Brandon? Leave the wine. You did not pay for that either. The guests started scrambling for the door, whispering, avoiding eye contact. Isabella ran into the bedroom, presumably to grab her jewelry. Brandon stood there, red-faced and impotent, realizing for the first time that his entire world was a stage set I had built and I had just called strike. The next morning, Brandon arrived at my office. He did not knock. He stormed in, past my receptionist, wearing the same suit from the night before, now wrinkled and stained. His face was a mask of self-righteous fury. "Where is my money?" he demanded, slamming his hands on my desk. "The transfer didn't go through. I checked this morning. And don't tell me it's another glitch. I know you did something." I did not look up from my laptop. I was reviewing the forensic audit report my accountant had emailed me at 3 in the morning. It was a masterpiece of deception. "Sit down, Brandon," I said, my voice calm. "I'm not sitting down," he shouted. "I'm calling my lawyer. This is financial abuse. You can't just cut me off. We have an agreement. That stipend is my salary for the work I do for this company." "Your salary?" I asked, finally looking up. "Is that what you call it?" I turned my laptop screen toward him. "This is a forensic audit of the marketing budget for the last 12 months. Specifically, the Brand Ambassador Discretionary Fund." Brandon froze. His eyes flickered to the screen, then away. "You see this line item?" I pointed to a recurring transfer. $200,000 over the last year, paid to a shell company called Artistic Vision Consulting. The registered agent for that company is Isabella Martinez. The color drained from his face. "That. She does consulting. For art acquisition. For our properties. We haven't bought art for a property in 18 months, I said. And even if we had, we would not pay a 24-year-old with zero experience to curate it. This is not consulting, Brandon. It is embezzlement. You took company funds, my funds, and funneled them to your mistress." The silence in the room was heavy, suffocating. Brandon opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked like a child caught stealing from the register. "This isn't a marital dispute anymore," I continued, leaning back in my chair. "This is felony fraud, grand theft. I have enough evidence right here to put you away for 10 years. Victoria—" "Wait," he stammered, his bravado collapsing into panic. "You wouldn't do that. Think about the company. Think about the press. A scandal like this." "The scandal is already contained," I said. "I've drafted a press release announcing your resignation due to personal health reasons, and I've drafted this." I slid a thick document across the desk. "Divorce papers. Uncontested. You waive all claims to spousal support, property, and company equity." He stared at the papers. "And if I don't sign? Then I call the district attorney," I said simply. "And instead of a severance check, you get an indictment." "Severance?" he asked, a flicker of greed lighting up his eyes even in the face of ruin. $24,000, I said. 1 month's rent at a mid-range apartment, plus moving expenses. Take it, sign the papers, and disappear. Or stay and fight, and lose everything. He picked up the pen. His hand was shaking. He did not look at me. He signed his name, the loops and curves shaky and uneven. It was the signature of a man surrendering his life. "Get out," I said when he finished. He stood up, looking small in the vast, glass-walled office. "Victoria." "Don't," I said. "Just go." He walked out, leaving the signed papers on my desk. The red line audit was complete. The liability had been removed. An hour later, Lisa arrived. She did not march in. She shuffled. The security guard at the front desk did not recognize her without her usual armor of arrogance, so he made her wait 10 minutes for a visitor pass. When she finally walked into my office, she looked smaller, older. The old money mask had dissolved, leaving behind a terrified woman who realized her entire identity was a line of credit she did not own. "Victoria," she started, her voice trembling. "Brandon told me. He said you're kicking us out. He said you own the apartment." I nodded, watching her from behind my desk. "I do. How could you?" She started to weep, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that looked cheap. "We're family. I treated you like a daughter." "No, Lisa," I said, my voice devoid of warmth. You treated me like a servant. You criticized my clothes, my background, my taste. You spent 5 years telling anyone who would listen that Brandon married down. But you spent my money. I was just trying to help him maintain standards, she pleaded. The bishop name, it means something. It means nothing, I corrected. The bishop name is a liability. You have 0 assets. You have massive debt. The only reason you've been living like royalty is because I allowed it. She stepped forward, reaching for my hand across the desk. I pulled back. Please, Victoria, don't do this. Think about our reputation. What will people say if I'm homeless? They will say you lived beyond your means, I said. But you won't be homeless. I'm not cruel. I handed her a single sheet of paper. What is this? She asked, blinking through her tears. A list of local charities, I said. Food banks, shelters, volunteer organizations. You've always talked about the importance of noblesse oblige and giving back. Now is your chance. You can volunteer. You can build a real reputation based on service, not shopping. She stared at the list as if it were a death sentence. Volunteer? But how will I live? You have a small pension, I said. And Brandon has his severance. If you pool your resources, you can afford a modest apartment, far away from here. You can't be serious, she whispered. This is vindictive. It's a condemnation order, I said. You loved the lifestyle, Lisa. You never loved me. And now the lifestyle is gone. I pressed the intercom button. Security? Please escort Miss Bishop out. 2 guards appeared at the door. Lisa looked at them, then at me. For the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. The facade had crumbled. The structure was condemned. She turned and walked out, clutching her list of charities, leaving the silence of victory in her wake. 6 months later, I walked through the arched doorway of a crumbling Art Deco building in downtown Miami. It had been vacant for years. A relic of a bygone era, ignored by developers who only wanted to build glass towers. But I saw the bones. I saw the potential. I wasn't renovating it for profit. I had bought it outright with the dividends from my last successful project. This was going to be the headquarters for the Foundation for Future Architects, a scholarship and mentorship program for young women entering the field. The divorce was final. Brandon had taken his severance and moved to a mid-range condo in Fort Lauderdale. Last I heard, Isabella had left him the moment the money ran out and was now curating for a nightclub owner in South Beach. Lisa was volunteering at the Botanical Gardens, terrifying the other volunteers with her opinions on hydrangeas, but she was surviving. I walked into the main hall, my footsteps echoing in the empty space. It was quiet, peaceful. For so long, I had tried to fill the silence in my life with other people's noise. I had tried to build a home on a foundation of obligation and fear. Now, I was building on solid ground. I pulled out my phone and looked at the architectural rendering on the screen. It showed the building restored to its former glory, filled with light and students and ideas. This was my revenge. Not the destruction of my ex-husband, but the construction of a legacy that had nothing to do with him. It was the architect's redesign. I hadn't just evicted a toxic family. I had cleared the site to build something beautiful. I had stopped being the silent provider for people who drained me and started investing in people who would build the future. I put my phone away and took a deep breath, smelling the dust and the history and the promise of construction. The old blueprint was gone. The new one was just beginning. And this time, I was the only name on the title. If you've ever had to rebuild your life from the ground up, or if you're in the middle of a demolition right now, share this story. Let's remind the world that sometimes the best revenge is a new blueprint. Subscribe for more.